I'm radiantly lurid.
That's why you're here.
That's right.
Okay.
I love it.
Radiantly lurid.
Yep.
Welcome to Con Carne. It is presented by Alex Ross Art, alexrossart.com. Alex Ross, if you have ever picked up a comic book or graphic novel, you probably know who he is. If you haven't, you should. But he is one of the best. He paints his work primarily. He does this photorealistic painting style where he creates these characters. He reinterprets popular characters like Batman or the Fantastic Four, and he makes them look like real people on the page. He has his own YouTube channel, as does Con Carne. But Alex Ross is here to tell you why you should subscribe to his YouTube channel.
Hi, this is Alex Ross. I appreciate you guys supporting our YouTube, and we create new content every week. I hope you will continue to support us, and please subscribe.
All right, so before I play the theme song and do this whole episode thing, Con Carne is nominated for Best Music Podcast in the Chicago Reader's Best of 2023 poll. It is the end of December 2023. Weeks, 2 weeks maybe, days remain. That's the bottom line. And Con Carne would love your support. These contests, they're tough. They're usually won by handfuls of votes. So if you participate, you are absolutely helping Con Carne. If you've listened to the podcast, you know how much work goes into this, and I hope you get something out of it. And I love supporting local independent artists. The link is on your screen. It's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/vote Con Carne. I'll also include it in the audio version in the notes that accompany this episode. Thank you for your support. The Best of 2023 Chicago Reader. Now, we hit the theme song.
It's Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
And we are recording. Well, we try to record close to the Music Box Theater. We're in range of the Music Box Theater because thematically it just makes sense for this episode. To my right, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, it is returning guest Stephanie Sack. She's a cinephile. She is a Giallo-phile. And the month of January is all about Giallo. Here's the thing, returning guest Stephanie Sack. I often look at movie listings, and the big theaters, the big chains, they show the same stuff in every theater. I find, as someone who enjoys movies, it's hard to find stuff that isn't the big...
boring,
Right.
mainstream, box office
Right.
stuff.
I mean, how many theaters really need to show Wonka? The point is, I wanted you here because you are plugged into kind of that parallel universe of cinema. You know all the screenings that are cool and interesting and aren't that. And the month of January, it's all about Giallo, and you've been on this podcast before talking about Giallo cinema.
Yes.
And the month of January, here's the thing. You sent me a list of movies you want to talk about that are happening. And movies that, again, you can't find at the traditional chains. And I'm like, oh, let's see. I'll be able to prepare for this. I think I knew one of the movies that you sent me. I mean,
That many. Impressive.
I'm like, this is just going to be her show. I'll turn my mic off, headphones come off. And the movie is Blowout.
Blowout. That's such a great movie.
So Blowout's one of the movies showing at the Music Box. It is Giallo January.
Correct.
And I guess let's start there because it's my only piece of comfort in this entire interview. Blowout is January 13th at the Music Box on Southport in Chicago. This is a Brian De Palma movie.
Oh, it's his last good film, actually.
John Travolta.
Yes, Nancy Allen.
See, I think I've heard it said that this movie wasn't as popular or well revered when it came out. That was like peak Travolta era, though, wasn't it? Like 1981.
I mean, aren't we always in some sort of peak Travolta era, really?
But that was like at
This is
the
very
height of his powers.
concentrated.
Yeah.
So, De Palma and Travolta had worked together years back with Carrie,
Sure.
which is, of course, the second greatest documentary about high school ever made.
What was number one?
Heathers.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and number 3 is The Craft, just so we're clear. So they had a really nice working relationship, and in fact, Nancy Allen was also in Carrie. So De Palma was married to Nancy Allen at the time of Blowout, as well as his previous film, Dressed to Kill, which is another American
Love that
giallo.
movie.
Love Dressed to Kill. But Blowout is his sort of love letter to Antonioni, to the late 60s Italian cinema. It's very stylized, and it's set, of all places, in Philadelphia, which is a very unique city in which to set any sort of murder mystery, particularly one based on the principles of Italian Giallo, which is lurid murder, more lurid murder, fabulous costumes, and more lurid murder.
That's your sweet spot right there.
I love lurid murder, yes.
That's it.
Now,
wasn't this movie,
actually.
was this a remake or a reimagining of an earlier movie? Was that Blow Up?
Correct. So Blow Up by Antonioni, an Italian master, came out in 1968. And this film came out in 1983. And although it was, in fact, peak Travolta, this was a very different role for Travolta. He was a leading man up against a lot of mystery. There was there's sabotage, there's subterfuge, there's a relationship between him and the Nancy Allen character that never really comes to fruition, but it's almost a sort of like a 40s Nick and Nora kind of thing. Like there's banter and it ends in the most spectacular, heartbreaking way. And if anyone here has not seen this film, seeing it at the Music Box for January Giallo is a treat. Make it happen.
I mean, can't we agree that seeing any movie really at the Music Box?
Well, just so we're on the same page, James, the Music Box is the physical manifestation of my soul, assuming I have a physical soul at all. So yes, seeing any film at the Music Box is a treat.
Deuce Bigelow would be great here.
You have fun at the screening of Deuce Bigelow at the Music Box.
It has its moments.
I will have to believe you.
So again, Giallo January, we don't necessarily need to cover every movie because that's a lot for people to digest. But if there's someone listening or watching like me who looks at this list and is like, I don't even know where to start. Like, what does someone who might be brought in by Blowout, what are movies that might appeal to a casual passerby? Like not a Stephanie Sack level Gialloholic.
That's a very limited sorority. It's really kind of a sorority of one, the Stephanie Sack level. But really the film to see in this particular series is Torso. And that is by master of Italian Giallo, Sergio Martino. And this is a film often referred to as a proto-slasher, as it does have elements of what the American market would see, say, with Halloween in the early 80s.
So what year was this?
73.
Okay.
And Mr. Martino, the Maestro Martino, will be in Chicago to talk about this film, which is his favorite of his Italian horror films. And I know this because I asked him which one was his favorite as he drove me around Rome in a very small car, yelling in Italian. And at one point I did think I might die, but I did get to talk to him about Torso, so that was totally worth it.
So the theater might be packed with movie nerds.
I am telling you that the theater will be packed with movie nerds. So please join in for not only a screening of an epic film from the Giallo era, but a live Q&A with the director Sergio Martino himself.
See, I like discovering those things that are kind of the Rosetta Stone for common things now.
Definitely.
I remember like the first time I heard Kraftwerk, and it was after I heard all the modern synthesizer stuff. I'm like, oh, that's where that came from.
Right. You have opened a very long, dark hallway in my brain with the mention of Kraftwerk. So for purposes of your audience's comfort, I will back away slowly and close the door. But yes, not only is a band like Kraftwerk, like you said, the Rosetta Stone to really appreciating modern music in both the 20th and 21st century, but a film like Torso, and in fact, all of the films represented by the Music Box in January for this particular series are excellent examples. For example, the first one to open the series, which is a Spanish Giallo, is known in America as House of Psychotic Women, which of course is where I have a pied-à-terre, but its original title translates to Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll. And, it's lurid, there's murder, there's dolls, it's Spanish. A fantastic way to start the series, and that's happening January 1st.
House of Psychotic Women, which means I need to get this edited soon. Blowout we talked about. You sent me over your notes. Hours before we sat down in my car. The notes for January 15th, The Strangler, French, all caps, very weird.
I think that's an accurate description. It is both French and all caps, very weird. So the evidence. So one of the most amazing things about Gialli is that there's an international flavor to them, in that countries all over Europe were making their versions of a Giallo. And of course, the French remove everything that's lurid and kind of everything that's sexual, and they make it very cold, very intellectual, very procedural. It sort of turns the tropes of Italian Gialli inside out. And this film, which I saw recently for the very first time after hearing about it for years, has really stuck with me in that it hits the beats of a Giallo, but it's so weird. It's so Parisian, and capturing that energy of someone being propelled by lurid murder in France, it is really cold and fascinating. Very recommended.
All right, so Giallo January at Music Box. Have they done this before? Is this the first?
No, I am delighted to say that this is the third iteration of January Giallo that has come to Chicago. It originated with the Cinematic Void out of Los Angeles, and over the years this event has become totally national, with screenings in Chicago, New York, Nashville. I think there's one in Denver, and it's all brought together by, of course, the idea of the black glove killer, the beautiful sets, the beautiful women, the fabulous makeup, and each theater is screening films that's perfect for their audience. So it's black gloved hands across America all January long.
And moving to the present day, is anyone doing this kind of stuff?
Yes, there's a whole group of people making neo-Gialli, where they have directly or even indirectly referenced the masters Martino, Argento, Bava, Lenzi, and there's a fabulous film that is a wonderful example of a neo-Gialli being played on January 20th called Knife and Heart, and it is part of the Leather Archives and Museum Fetish and Kink series. And this film came out in 2018. Again, it's a French film, and it is really one of the best examples of directors, scriptwriters, cinematographers coming together to not only honor what a Gialli looks and feels like, but really bring it into a fascinating element of modernity. Interestingly, the film is set in the 70s, so you're still tapping into the look, the social movements, but it looks modern. The colors are very clean. The cast is very modern. Again, very recommended.
I assumed things like this, Giallo type movies were being made, just given the influence and the way people like you talk about it. I didn't know specifics. Like,
the Gialli is a timeless, at this point, worldwide phenomenon. And as a genre, it speaks to so much of the post-war European psychology. It speaks to the women's movement in the 70s, how that was really changing the way men and women related. It speaks to a new relationship with money, that post-war, these countries became wealthy, glamorous. And that's a big change from, we have to remember that Italy became a republic in 1955.
Right.
So that's not that long ago.
That's true.
So these moments that are captured have been not only preserved for film history, but they're inspiring. People relate to them. And that 20th century groove really still works in our modern era.
did you have a holly jolly Christmas?
I mean, every day is Halloween, and I definitely had a holly jolly Christmas.
Fantastic. All right, so to just kind of encapsulate, Music Box, Giallo January. You mentioned Torso on the 22nd with the director in-house.
Yes.
Come on. Blowout, if you want to do the American thing.
Fabulous recommendation for an American Giallo.
I kind of want to rewatch that. It's been a little bit.
Oh, it gets better and better.
And it kicks off, I mean, no better way to work off a hangover than visiting the House of Psychotic Women.
We're waiting for you.
So that's just at the Music Box. That's the month of January, which traditionally, I've said this to a few of the bands I've had on recently, about as quiet and as dead a month as you'll find. Like, local bands don't play, bands don't tour in January because it's January.
It's January.
So when you find something cool to do, it's a big deal.
Oh my
in January
God.
in Chicago.
James, I never thought I would say this, let alone say this on tape. I am so excited to be in Chicago in January.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? But I'll take it. I'll take it.
So Music Box, they're doing off and on 1st through the 22nd, Giallo January. Meanwhile, across Chicago, what's the Doc Films Winter Session?
So Doc Films is the film series run by the University of Chicago at the Ida Norris Center in the Max Pavlevsky Cinema. I really hope that made sense to someone.
I want to say I saw Garbage play there in like 1999 or something.
I was not there, but I'll have to believe you. That sounds like it was a great show. And this is the nation's oldest student-run film series.
Okay, that's cool.
And it's so cool. And the range of films, the range of people programming it, it's very dynamic, it's very exciting. And you've got everything from the classics to really offbeat selections. And this winter, the series that I'm most interested in is called Mommy Issues. And it starts off with Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. Maybe you've heard of that one. So
how many people have seen it on a screen?
Well, this will be my 4th scene of it on a screen, and I can tell you that the first 3 times were fabulous. So I'm really excited to not only see it projected on a screen, but share it with other people as well.
And then Solaris?
Solaris. So that is...
That's the one, Clooney remade that, right?
Oh, that hurts. Why? Why do you inflict such pain upon me?
Trying to bring the public in on this.
No, go away. This is the original Solaris by Andrei Tarkovsky, arguably Russia's greatest 20th century director. Wow, someone will come at me for that, but I'm ready. Let's do this, Soviet sci-fi.
Won't be me.
And Solaris is part of their series about mirroring, about doubles, about doppelgangers, which is, of course, just as humans, when we look in the mirror, what is it that we see? Do we see ourselves the way other people see us? All sorts of like heavy, heartbreaking stuff, which I love. And Solaris...
Is it true you don't cast a reflection in the mirror?
I am neither confirming nor denying anything on this filming, James. Ask me next time. Solaris, it's a film about going nowhere, about seeing things that aren't really there in space. Highly recommended. Also, highly recommended. That's you gotta settle in with some maybe some brain massaging materials for that one. But again, very recommended and a treat to see Tarkovsky on the big screen as it properly should be seen.
Now, I will say straight up, I've never even seen this name of the other movie they're featuring.
Okay.
Fitzcarraldo?
Fitzcarraldo. So Fitzcarraldo is part of a series that's highlighting the German director, I've just forgotten his name. I just said it earlier. Fitzcarraldo, Werner Herzog. So Herzog is another like heavy hitter in 20th century and even 21st century cinema. And Fitzcarraldo is about a man in the Amazonian jungle who decides he wants to open an opera house.
Okay.
And wild and wacky adventures soon ensue.
Wait, is this part of Mommy Issues?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, I'm trying to connect dots. All right, so that's happening at the University of Chicago.
Yes.
Over by, if you're in the Hyde Park area, that's perfect. And at the Siskel downtown on January 12th, Nostalgia?
Nostalgia is also by Andrei Tarkovsky. Cinephiles and Weirdos. We have 2 Tarkovsky screenings in January in Chicago. What is going on? Actually, I'll tell you what's going on. That Virgin I Sacrificed worked. You're welcome.
You answer your own rhetorical questions.
With real answers.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful film about memory. It's one of his later films. He's really starting to sort of wrap up a lot of his own relationship with his family. It's beautiful. It's about nothing. It's very slow. Another one where you just kind of gotta settle in and let it happen.
So do any of these movies have after-credit sequences that set up future installments?
I will let your audience see them and find out for themselves.
That's what we're used to. Like, where's the connective tissue to the next sequel?
I could tell you where it is, but then I'd have to tell you, James.
All right, so in summary, there's a lot going on movie-wise.
So much going on!
So as you're looking at the traditional cinemas and thinking, oh my God, everyone's playing the same shit at the same time, and it's all like you know what every movie's going to be like when you walk in the door.
Boring.
These are great alternatives, and with the Giallo January, it's all Giallo, but definitely different flavors to fit different needs.
That's right. And I love the fact that these 3 venues that we talked about and other venues around town this month are programming fearlessly. They're programming with a lot of fun. And best of all, they're programming utterly fantastic cinema. And the fact that we have access to all of this in Chicago truly warms what is left of my cold, dark heart.
That's not much.
Embers, man.
Stephanie Sack, Gialloholic, cinephile. You're an expert on this stuff. I learn something every time you come on. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me on, James. It is so fun to chat with you. Vote for Con Carne and see you at the movies.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.